What is good, guys? It's Rey-Jay back with another video, and this one I'm going to talk about what's going on with the overall market as CPI just came out, and so far things are looking quite good. Before breaking things down, let me just mention a couple of things. I'm firstly not a financial planner, so take none of this as financial advice, and also if you guys can, please check out the Webull link, which is down below and in the description. If you sign up for Webull and deposit any amount of money into the account, you're guaranteed up to 12 free stocks. The offer ends in just 5 days. Check it out before they run out. Anyways, let's talk about the market. How on earth are things looking? So I'm going to reload my page just to show you guys the most up-to-date data. And we have some pretty good news. So looking at core CPI year over year, this was 4.7% versus the forecast of 4.8%. So very close to expectations, if not a little bit lower, depending on which expectations you were looking at. Some of Wall Street was expecting 4.7%. Others were expecting 4.8%, overall lower than expected. Month over month, it was as expected for core. And then for the overall CPI, we were actually expecting around 3.3% as the consensus. I was looking at what many analysts were expecting, and we saw around 3.3% for the most part. That's what the consensus was. And we got about 3.2%, which is very close to expectations, nothing too bad whatsoever. And then inflation rate for month over month was 0.2%, aligning with the expectations. So for the most part, things have been quite good. When it comes to initial jobless claims, we also saw this number start to go up again at 248,000. That's once again technically good news for the markets because the Fed is de-incentivized to be even more hawkish. So all these numbers are actually leaning more in the direction of the market holding up or remaining more bullish. And so far, so good for us. Now, looking at this in more specific detail, I will talk about this in more detail in a later video. I just want to mention you can see how the chart looks right here, the 0.2% growth for the month of July, according to the data. And right here, we also have this larger chart right here. You can see there's a slight increase in the overall CPI, but core is still on a nice downtrend. There's a slight increase as energy ended up playing a role in that happening. And you can see more specific numbers here for all items and etc. So far, not too bad. Energy did go up just a little bit. You can see right over here that plays somewhat of a role. And then we did see like commodities go up just a bit and everything else is looking quite decent. So I'm going to go over these numbers in a later video once again. But I just want to say for now, things are looking pretty good. And this is a good chance that this could help the market. Looking at SPY right now, it's at 448 a share, holding up quite decently. And now the question is, how on earth will we end up moving? And that's going to be determined by how things look moving forward. For now, the market is more likely to start pumping. The market's more likely to like this data. And I was warning you guys that don't be too fixated on one direction. The market could go either way. And it really depended on CPI. And this time the numbers came out quite decently. So the market should hold up decently. So here are some resistance levels to look at SPY, for example. You're going to be watching this 448 zone as our resistance. We're currently just a little bit above it. We have to hold this for a longer period of time. Break this and this thing's going to fly for 450. If we break and hold 450 over the next 2 days, if we continue to hold above it, I'm going to be eyeing this unfilled gap up here. So I think on the daily chart, you could see it a lot better. So right here on the daily chart, there's this unfilled gap all the way up to 456. We could see the market pump for these high levels. We could see 456 on SPY over the next couple of trading days if the market continues to uptrend. But we have to hold 450 at the very least. And let's see if that can happen for today. Now, to add on to this, from a technical standpoint on the daily chart, it is looking more bearish as of right now. But remember, the day hasn't ended today, so this hasn't been updated. But for now, and this is actually like technically like the chart for yesterday, the market was looking bearish yesterday, but things could flip on a dime with CPI, so make sure you're prepared for that. Many people were expecting this gap down here at like 442 to get filled, and it looks like that's what they wanted to trick a lot of investors into believing. We saw a fake out move, and yesterday could have been the fake out. They could have like dropped the market hard just to scare lots of investors, get lots of people to start shorting. And then if anything, what happened, CPI is now causing the market to bounce. So now we're going to go back to the 30 minutes time frame on SPY and look at how this is looking. We're currently at 448 right now. We got this crazy jump once the CPI came out to almost 450 and came right back down. But we're holding up quite nicely, and we're going to likely see some buyers step in because we got a pretty decent CPI report. So I'm going to be watching once again if SPY can try to hold above 448. If it holds it, we're going to be watching for this thing to push to at least 450 plus. If that breaks, 452 is on the table. Now, if we break down, we do have this gap down here all the way down to 446.8. If 448 ends up failing us, we're going to be watching 447.5 and then this gap way down here. remember, it's just the pre-market right now. Things could change once the market opens, so just be prepared for that. And then once again, if 447.5 fails us, okay, that's going to be your support to watch for. As of right now, looking at the current levels, we're going to see this thing come all the way down to 446.8. And if that fails us, then we have like the 445s. Okay, so watch those supports very carefully. In my opinion, what looks more likely is the market's going to try to uptrend. It's going to form a base very soon, trying to get above 448. We might see a nice pop to about 450 or so. I'm leaning more in the bullish direction now as the market got some good stuff. And remember, on the 4-hour time frame, we did technically have a bullish divergence developing. This is starting to show some life, but we have to break out of this like channel, at least for SPY, just for us to continue. On Tesla, Tesla's holding up decently so far. It also formed a bullish divergence, at least yesterday. Looking at it, we want to see Tesla try to hold above 245. It's currently testing around that resistance. Break that, and we're going to be watching Tesla push all the way up to about 248, in my opinion. That's a real possibility at our 20 EMA. Break this, then 250 is a real possibility. Then we have 254 at the 4-hour 200 EMA test, right? 254 becomes a real possibility. We need to get above 245 first. Let's see if Tesla can break this resistance. I think there's a good chance Tesla's going to bounce. We're going to be watching these imbalances up here. Let's see Tesla get to 250. That's going to be my target. I want to see Tesla push up. I think there's a good chance of that happening, and I'm leaning more bullish in that direction. For Aapl, Apple's trying to bounce as well. It also formed another divergence. You can see it right here on the RSI, also on the MACD. We want to see Aapl try to get a push up. It first has to hold 179. If it holds this, it technically has a bullish structure right now from a technical standpoint as it's holding up. Then it looks like you can push for above 180, hold 180. I'm going to be looking for this imbalance to fill around 181. That's going to be my target for Aapl. Could even break a little bit higher around 181.5 to 182. But I think 181 at the very least should be tested on this. This looks bullish from a technical standpoint. So it looks like this thing may make an attempt to bounce. Looking at the triple Q, the QQQ also has a similar setup as Aapl. It is going to come down a little bit. It may fill this gap like right here around 368, come a little bit down before this thing tries to bounce. And we're going to be watching it hold 368. If that holds and starts breaking out, you're going to be watching 370 as the resistance level at the 50 EMA. Break this, and we're going to be watching the triple Q go for this push all the way up to this previous resistance around 372.25. If it breaks that, 373 becomes a real possibility and very probable. Now, Nvda is looking relatively weak. It's kind of down again, trying to hold 420. If 420 were to break on this thing, remember we have that like 413 to 414 support. I'm not really counting on that to happen. I think the market bouncing should help it because it has a bullish divergence still developing. So I'm going to be looking for a bounce on Nvda. I want to see this thing retest resistance. So the bullish case would be like a retest of 426. If it breaks that, I'm going to be watching this thing push for about 432 and then potentially 444. But that no, 444 is quite a distance away after this thing came down pretty hard yesterday. So I want to see this thing bounce. I'm leaning more in that direction. I want to see this thing try to get above 432 at the very least. And I think there's a good chance of this thing making its way up there. So that's my target. I want to see it break above that. I'm leaning more bullish on Nvda. And let's hope we get a nice push up. Let's see if the market could have a bigger effect on it. For AMD, this thing also has a bullish structure right here. It's forming a bullish wedge. We're going to be watching for a breakout. It's about this 113.37 area, if not 114 flat, looking more bullish. And finally, for Coinbase, Coinbase is actually a little down right now. Let's just see if there's a nice structure on it. For now, it's trying to base around this 84 level. Let's see if it could bounce there and push up for 85.6. If that breaks, there's a real possibility of it pushing for about 88 if it gets above 86. So I am leaning a little bit more in the direction of this getting a bounce. I want to see this thing try to hold at least above 85. I think that's very possible. Alibaba's up after its earnings came out. So we're going to be looking for this thing to try to hold above this 96.8 area, then get a bounce and retest 100. Seems very probable. It's holding up quite decently so far. Let's hope it continues from here. Finally, for Meta, Meta formed a nice divergence, trying to get a bounce right now. We're going to be watching this thing try to push above 308. If it breaks that, 312 becomes a possibility for this imbalance fill. I'm leaning more bullish on that, but if it breaks down, you're going to be watching 302 as major support. I think it's more likely to push up for about 312. That's where this imbalance happens to be. And then for Amazon, it's the same setup. We have this imbalance up here around this like 140 area. I think it's going to push it for 140, leaning more bullish, but just to be safe, watch support around 137.6 and 138. All right, guys, so that's what I have for this video. Market's looking more bullish so far. I'm leaning more bullish for today. We need to see SPY try to get above 448 and try to hold it for the time being. It came up, got a pop, came right back down. But once the market opens, volume is going to start coming in and buyers will start stepping in most likely. So watch for it to try to hold 448. If that holds, there's a good chance of more upside and this thing's starting to push up. And then we could see like 450 after that. And if we break 450, 452 becomes a real possibility, plus other resistance levels. But make sure you eye this imbalance up here. This is one level to look out for. And just know that we have a bullish divergence that has developed on SPY. It's going to likely play out. And I'm leaning more bullish for today, and we will see how this goes. All right. So thank you for listening. Have a great day, everyone. Market to the moon as the long term is still very bright. We have some good news, and I'll see you guys in the next one. So far, so good. Take care, everyone, and stay safe. Thank you, and peace out.